Hey y'all, it's your good sis Erica Vane back again with another Queen Sugar video, and we are taking our weekly bouts to St. Joe's Parish. Let's get into episode 3. Alright, y'all, the episode opens up with Prosper being okay and returning home, and we get a congratulatory welcome home. Thank God you're good party with the Bordelons and Billy. In this episode, we got a lot more clarity around Billy, her past, her previous concerns, and what is actually fueling some of her resentment for the Borderlones. And I'm going to jump right on into it because I thought it was very, very interesting how they set this up. I struggled with her character in last episode because I just felt like she was being completely ridiculous. Like, yes, Vi is pushy, and yes, Vi can overstep, but Vi is the one who's been taking care of your father through this entire pandemic and all of your life. So for you to come in and act like she can no longer have access to this man, this is one of her best friends, one of her good friends. It just seemed to be utterly ridiculous, especially in the times that we have. But we learned throughout this episode that Billy has a bunch of unresolved trauma that is really fueling some of her hate and resentment for the Borderlones. Not only does she feel second fiddle to them in her father's eyes, but she suffered from some serious trauma that wasn't necessarily directly from them, but was in their vicinity. And that is what is discussed. In this episode, we see her push for Nova to have a conversation with her because her and Nova used to be best friends and now they're not even speaking. They don't really communicate that much. And she actually pushes for them to have a conversation. And in this conversation, it comes out that she actually outed Nova to her father. And Nova still, for all these years, cannot figure out why, didn't really understand it. And also come to find out, Billy was raped by Jimmy Dale, who was Vi's former abusive husband. Now, also in this episode, before they have this conversation, we get to see Vi mentioning that this was a rumor that went around, but nobody actually confirmed or denied it. It was just kind of a thing. It was a thing that kind of made things bad for Vi's end. It's assuming that, or it's laid out to us in a way that we would think that it was true. And it's not until Billy communicates to Nova that we realize that, yeah, this happened, but it didn't happen in a way that it was being portrayed. The narrative is completely wrong. He actually took advantage of her and then went around the town and was telling everybody about it. And that is what pushed her at the age of 18 to run, because she talked to her father, who I guess Prosper didn't believe her or just basically didn't back her up, which put a strain on their relationship. I don't think that she actually talked to Vi. We're gonna have to wait to see how this continues to evolve and come out, because we know Nova's not going to drop it, right? Nova's going to continue to have a conversation about it to really figure out if she actually had a conversation with Vi. But overall, Billy just felt unheard. The only person who actually heard her before she left is Ernest Bordelon. And she tells the story as before she left St. Joe's Parish and ran away, she actually stopped by his house, talked to him, and he was kind, supportive, and she believes that he believed her. And that made her feel even worse, because in that moment Nova had a dad who was so supportive of her, so listening, so kind, and she didn't have that. And because she felt like she was abandoned by Nova and by the people that she loved and that was supposed to love her, she wanted to take that away from Nova. It's not right, but it makes sense, and I get it, right? Like, I get how, she arrived at that place. And again, that also provides a lot of clarity for all of what she has brought to the table so far with all of this resentment and hate. Now, that's kind of where we leave off with that. So in the next episodes, I'm looking to see what else conversation develops based on what we now know. Billy definitely going to have to heal. She's in St. Joe's for a while to make sure Prosper is okay. She's also representing him as one of the farmers in the Black Farmers Union, because they are still going up against the USDA and trying to get relief funds for all that they have experienced, and they're continuing to get the runaround. We also see that in this episode. And then the rest of the episode, honestly, is really punctuated by the conversation that needs to be had in reference to bringing Davis back into the family, and everyone, knowing about Davis and Charley rekindling their relationship, and Vi being outed for her secret. So We get to see that Hollywood finds out about the woman in child that Vi is caring for after she tries to do the same thing that she did last episode, but he doubles back for something and notices that she's taking money out the register, that she's putting this food and stuff in her car, and he like, all right, what's going on? Vi finally, fesses up, and they actually have a very interesting argument about how they put other people before themselves, and she didn't tell him simply because she just didn't want him to tell her not to, which I get. However, they've just gone through a pandemic. They have just made it through some very, very strenuous things within their relationship. Hollywood is still processing his mom's death and the grief around that. He is opening the real spot, as you said, to be able to support others, but then also to be able to support himself. So I think that this is something that they definitely could have talked about and that she could have been honest about. Vi needs to be needed. That's one thing that I'm definitely picking up with her character now more than ever. When she doesn't have a reason to be needed, i.e. Blue's gone away to school and her and Ralph Angel are estranged or not what they used to be, she found another person to fill that hole, and now this is this woman and the child. I think that that's something that is really great for Vi, but then also something that's going to have to be addressed, because if she can't sit with herself and just have moments and bouts of being able to support herself alone, then that's a problem, and she has a codependency on where she places her value and validation. I don't think that Hollywood is in the exact same position. I think that he is a little bit better with it, as he actually receives that he is traumatized and he's struggling with grief and sadness, and he's more open to managing his own feelings and understanding his own feelings, while also trying to assume and protect and love on the people that he loves. I thought it was really cool how they juxtaposed the conversations that were happening at the opening of the real spot with the men with the conversations that were happening with the women back at Vi's house. And in those conversations, we got to see that Darla feels like something is coming, and Vi reminds her that she has to be able to trust Joy. And I ain't even gonna hold you, I feel the same way. Things are going entirely too well right now. It feels like something is about to happen. So I get it, Darla. And us watching as the audience members, like, we're trying to expect that when we're watching a drama, but I can totally see how she is feeling that. I love that they use Vi in this way to say that we have to be, as Black women, able to trust Joy, because that is also, I think, a default conditioning that we have. We experience this idea that if things are going too right, it's only a matter of time before everything goes wrong, everything comes crushing down. And that's something that I feel like manifests very regularly in my life. As things be happening and as things line up and beautiful things just keep revealing themselves to me, I innately, like, without even trying, go to a place of like, okay, so then where is the problem? What is wrong? What is coming around the corner? Let me prepare myself. And trying to get to the place where you can actually trust Joy, it's not easy, but it's necessary. And for the guys at the real spot, Hollywood shares a very real and vulnerable story, and I just love what this is going to be. I love what this is going to be, fictitiously within the show, but I love what this represents in the shows on screen. Like, for men to be able to sit down, have conversations like this, commune, and be very vulnerable, it's something that is important to see. Now, Rod and Darla in this episode also find a doula that they like and learn that they also have to also get a midwife. And now we're starting to get into the conversations of, can they afford it? Rod wants to afford it, and we can see that these mounting financial pressures, because again, the farmers are getting the runaround. They're potentially going to be another 6 weeks before these relief checks come. The mounting financial pressures are really going to push Rod probably to make some ridiculous decisions and or a few missteps. Nova is still getting threats in this episode, and she isn't telling anybody. And I'm like, at this point, sis, don't be balling up this paper. You need to be keeping this as evidence, because this could be a federal case, girl. You need to be keeping all of this as evidence, and you need to tell somebody that somebody is targeting you. Like, this is not just a keep quiet, it's going to go away. Episode after episode, we're seeing evidence of people following you, of people threatening you, and it's just like, girl, no, we're not going to be able to just keep quiet about this. You're going to come up there, and ain't nobody going to know why, because you didn't took all the evidence and just threw it in trash because you didn't want to deal with it. The highlight of the episodes for me was really seeing Davis come home and reconnect with all the family and make amends, or at least start to make amends. His apology, while it wasn't necessarily necessary, I'm glad that he did it, because he was able to be accountable for the emotional and mental toll that his actions took on everybody, not just Charley, and how everyone became affected by the dumb decisions that he made. And even with him and like looking at him and Charley, I want to fall in love with it again and I want to believe. But like Micah said, he don't want her to hurt that way anymore, and neither do I. I don't want Charley to ever experience that again. So I'm also very trepidatious in venturing into the waters of Charley and Davis, even though it seems like everything is smooth sailing. Now, another thing that I want to note is that Vi had a little inkling or a little something, a little seed planted in her spirit while watching Hollywood play with this woman's child. And now I think that we're going to get a conversation around her not being able to give him children. And this was something that came up when they started to commit even further to each other and they got married and all that kind of stuff. So Lord, we about to go down that road, I'm afraid. But y'all, that is my full breakdown of episode 3 from season 6 of Queen Sugar. Let me know what you thought of the episode in the comment section down below. It's your good sis Erica Vane coming to you with new entertainment breakdowns every single day. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and join the tribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.